Good evening to our families. Welcome to the continuation of parent and family orientation. We're going to wait just another few seconds as families continue to trickle in to the webinar before we start. All right, welcome again, and welcome for the first time for families who just logged on. We're really thrilled that you're here this evening for what is now the fourth week of parent and family orientation. We are thrilled to have your students here this fall and excited for another great evening to get you all prepared as families to understand a little bit more about what their journey at Duke will include. So a few shopkeeping items before we start. My name is Grace Sullivan Zirkle. I'm the Associate Director in New Student and Family Programs. It's our job to guide your students this summer and you as families over your students' entire academic journey. And I'm really honored to have with us the undergraduate team from Pratt School of Engineering with us. Before I hand things over to them, I will remind you all that there is a Q&A at the bottom. So if you look below, you can type in questions there throughout the session. There will be an opportunity after a little bit of a formal presentation for you all to ask questions of our deans and to hear their answers. And we are recording this session. So if you're super excited, but don't want to take notes, the recording will be available later on our website. If you give us about 48 hours, we'll have it up so we can make sure it's transcribed and available. So with that, I am going to hand things over to Jennifer Ganley.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. We are honored that you are taking some time out of your day to join us. And we are so excited to welcome your students to the Pratt School of Engineering. And first, we will hear from our Dean, Jerry Lynch.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. As Jennifer said, I'm Jerry Lynch. I'm the Vinnick Dean of Engineering here at the Pratt School of Engineering. And I'd like to first start off by saying welcome to the Duke community. You should be very proud as parents and guardians of our incoming students who have accomplished so much to get to this point. And we're just overjoyed with the opportunity to meet you and your students later in August when you drop them off. And we're excited to get underway with the new semester. As you know, Duke and Pratt is a very, very special community of scholars that's very passionate, it's dynamic, it's highly diverse, and it's fully committed to the success of our students. And we're just really excited again about getting underway and driving that success forward. That first year that your young students are going to experience is going to be incredibly special, and it's going to be very memorable. Beginning with move-in week in late August, your students are going to be finding new friends and new connections that are going to share this experience with them, and are going to form the basis of the social networks that are going to support them through their entire four-year experience here at Duke. Inside the School of Engineering, your students are going to have an exciting time in both the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. In the classroom, partaking, for example, in our first year design course, where immediately they'll jump into real authentic engineering problems and learn by doing. In addition, they're going to have opportunities to expand their horizons with a very strong liberal arts foundation to their education, combined with the engineering courses that they're going to take. In addition to the successes they're going to have in the classroom, one of the hallmarks of the Pratt engineering experience is the rich range of co-curricular programs that we offer our students. And it's without doubt that your students are going to find activities that are going to match well with their interests and their deep passions for the things that they want to do professionally as well as individuals in our society. Another key attribute of our program, as you're going to hear tonight, is a big focus on mentoring and supporting students through the first year to ensure that they're given every resource necessary to drive their success throughout their experiences in this first year. So I'd like to just say again, welcome to the Duke community. Really delighted to have you this evening with us. We hope you'll enjoy this brief glimpse into the experiences that your young students are going to have upon arrival here shortly in the next few weeks. Also, feel free to ask any questions. We're here tonight to answer any of the questions that you may have. We're certain that there are things that you're still curious about or areas that you would like more information. Just ask. That's what we're here for. And I'd like to also say thank you for the opportunity to partner with you to drive the success of your young students. This is a team, and we welcome your participation in this team that's going to drive the success of our students. So with that, I'm going to now pass the baton to my colleague, Professor Linda Franzoni, who's our Associate Dean for Undergraduate Studies, and look forward to welcome all of you to our campus in late August. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm going to share my screen if I can here. And I have a PowerPoint presentation to share with you. So let me get that. All right. All right. So I hope that you can see that. And as Jerry mentioned, I'm Linda Franzoni. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduates in the Pratt School of Engineering, and I'm also a faculty member in the Mechanical Engineering and Materials Science Department. Now, prior to COVID, I would be meeting with you all in person in the Griffith Auditorium in the Bryan Center, and it would be just about when you're ready to leave campus after dropping your sons and daughters off. And I would be trying to convince you that you were leaving them in really good hands with us, while you are holding back tears and worried about separation anxiety. Yours, not theirs. That's still a goal, but hopefully I'll be able to convince you that you're leaving them in good hands without the tears or the worry. All right, well, let me go ahead and introduce you to our undergraduate team. And this is the team that supports undergraduate students, and there are really many more, the whole entire Pratt School and all of the faculty, but this is our team within the Dean's office. So in the back row on the left, we have two guys, Greg and Steve, and they are the supervisors in the Pratt Student Machine Shop. Their goal is safety first, always safety first. And they're happy to teach students how to use the equipment in the shop. Also in the back row is Jennifer Ganley, who you just met. She is the Director of Student Affairs in the Pratt School, and she works closely with all of our student organizations, including the extracurricular groups, the tour guides, peer advisors, and she works with admissions and new student programs. Next, we have 3 academic deans. Ben Cook is there in the back row on the right. And then on the left, in the front of the photo, is Carmen Rawls and Lupita McMillan. So those are our 3 academic deans. And then Heather Rabelais is our program coordinator, and she's sitting at the base of the statue. And then I'm over there on the right-hand side in front of Jennifer and Ben. So that is the team in the dean's office. Now, here, this graphic, I want you to sort of imagine that your son or daughter is in the center of this graphic, and they are surrounded by a variety of people from the university, the Pratt School, and the departments. And these people will be supporting them throughout their 4 years, whether it's academic, health-related, social, or advice on curriculum, majors, or careers. Last year, we launched a new initiative aimed at beefing up advising in the first year, which we think is the most critical time to build a foundation for future success. Under this model, each first-year student will receive a 360 coach. That is a faculty member in the Pratt School. And they will also have an upper class student known as an E-Team peer advisor. The peer advisor and the coach act as a team. They are well connected to all of these resources on campus, and they can help the student navigate all of these opportunities, which frankly can be a bit overwhelming. Throughout the year, the coach will be reaching out to their students with invitations to meet or join in an activity on or around campus. It could be going out for ice cream on 9th Street, or grabbing a cup of coffee here on campus, or taking a walk in the Duke Gardens. You get the idea. Here are some of the smiling faces of our 360 coaches. This year, we have decided to wait until the students are settled into their EGR 101 groups before we assign coaches. So that way, each 101 group will have the same coach. We're hoping that will help provide a more cohesive advising community for each student. Meanwhile, each of the students should have already heard from their academic dean and hopefully met individually with that dean. The academic deans started reaching out to your students earlier in the summer, around the end of May or early June, and hopefully all of those meetings have taken place. The purpose of those meetings was to introduce themselves and to help answer any questions, and also to help advise students on what to take this fall. So speaking of classes this fall, it is our hope that all first-year students will be able to take EGR 101, our first-year Design and Communications course, in the first semester. Here, they will meet fellow classmates, form teams, and work on projects of mutual interest throughout the semester. The design challenges come from actual clients, and the students will meet with the clients during the semester and hand off their design solution at the end of the semester. These photos show students working on various projects. The lower photos were obviously taken during COVID. Students in this class can choose from a variety of tools mastery projects in order to learn 3D printing, programming microcontrollers, working with circuits, laser cutting, woodworking, molding, and casting. And many of these skills are then used on their design projects. If for some reason a student can't take EGR 101 in the first semester, there's an opportunity to take it in the spring. We consider all first-year students to be undeclared. Every year, I'll get an email from a first-year student where they label themselves a certain engineering major. So I would not be at all surprised if I get an email in the next few weeks or months from someone claiming to be, quote, BME class of 2026. It always makes me smile because students don't realize that about half of them will graduate as something other than what they intended to when they started at Duke. So my advice to first-year students is keep an open mind and take advantage of the opportunities to learn about all of the majors. Don't be settled on any one particular major from the very beginning. Oh, and I should say that we don't even allow students to declare their major until the end of their first year. All right, so beyond the first year design class, there are also many other opportunities for hands-on experiences. Each of the majors has multiple courses in the curriculum that include labs and/or open-ended design problems or competitions. On the upper left, you see students that are testing a concrete beam in a civil engineering lab. Students love to see things break under a controlled experiment, of course. The learning comes from predicting the amount of force that will cause this to happen, and then checking against your experience in the lab. Next to that are students from a design class that competes in an international competition known as the X Prize Challenge, where real money is at stake. You should check out the X Prize. You'll see it is real money. Here you see that the students are working on a mother drone that will eventually carry baby drones for sensing the ecosystem in the rainforest. On the bottom left is a photo from the end of the semester friendly competition between the lab sections of an intro ECE class. In this class, students design and program robots in order to avoid obstacles and perform different tasks. And on the bottom right, you see a professor who's working with students in an energy engineering class in order to look at the performance of different turbine blades for use in a hydroelectric power plant. There are also student organizations which provide opportunities for students to practice their engineering skills and knowledge without the pressure of grades. And a side benefit of these organizations is getting to know other Pratt students, including those from other graduating classes. The photos on the top are from 3 of our interdisciplinary engineering groups taken from recent activities. On the left is Duke Aero. This is at a rocket launching competition. The middle one on the top is Duke Motorsports, taken at a Formula race car competition. You might think it's kind of strange that the car is tilted at an angle, but this is part of the pre-test. Before they get to race the car, they have to check certain things having to do with the suspension or whether the fuel, the seals on the fuel tanks are appropriate for banking on when the car goes around corners. And then on the right, in the upper right-hand corner, is a photo from the students who designed and built a bridge in Bolivia. That's the Duke Engineers for International Development, or DEED group. The photos on the bottom are from engineering affinity groups that promote networking and career development opportunities. So that'll be the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers, or SHIP, the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE, and then the Society of Women Engineers, SWE. We encourage students to check out all of the clubs and organizations that we have in Pratt, as well as the ones that are available Duke-wide. We just don't want them to overcommit in the first semester. A schedule with 4 classes that only meet a few times per week can look deceptively easy to a student that's used to taking 6 classes that meet every day in high school. But trust me, these 4 classes will be just as hard and challenging, or even harder than the 6 high school classes. And time management will be one of the most important things that students learn in their first year. Remember that separation anxiety that I referred to in my opening remarks? Well, it is coming up in less than a month. So you may want to jot down these dates to make that a little easier to handle. Students will have a short break in October around midterm. Classes will not be held on Monday and Tuesday, October 10th and 11th. The following week, so they have a 4-day weekend. Then the following weekend is family weekend at Duke. Classes are in session that Friday and Monday, but it is a time for you to come back to campus and visit the students in their new environment and meet new friends and see how things are going at Duke. For Thanksgiving, students have the Wednesday off before Thanksgiving, and they have that weekend through Sunday, but they do not have Monday and Tuesday off. And it's really important to check. Some students think they have Tuesday, or maybe they just have 1 class on Tuesday, but that class might be having a test. So be careful about booking travel during Thanksgiving, and be sure if you do book any travel the Monday or Tuesday, that it's okay with their classes. And finally, before booking travel at the end of the semester, please be sure to check the exam schedule. And students should check with their instructors, check the syllabus, check with the instructor and the syllabus to be sure that they know their exam schedule before you book travel home at the end of the semester. Exams end December 20th, so that would be a safe time to book. But all right, Duke Hub is the access point for students to get into their schedules and to book their classes and things like that. For parents, you should ask your son or daughter for proxy access. This is guest access to their Duke Hub account. Do not ask them for their NetID and password. Please do not get on Duke Hub using their NetID and password, because if you are using their account and you're not on Duke property, it could be received by our IT people as an illegal hack. And the student may get locked out of their own account until that is reconciled. Duke takes cybersecurity very seriously. So instead, you want the student to grant you proxy access. Students get to choose which data they will share with you. So for example, a proxy may have access to the bursar bill, but not grades. So you need to have that conversation with your sons and daughters about which amount of data they're going to give you access to. All right, so the students can access this feature under their profile on Duke Hub, and they provide an email address for each proxy. Following categories are things that they can grant you access for. First one is university correspondence. That contains a monthly parent and family newsletter, which features important upcoming deadlines, as well as fun and interesting news and notes from across campus. Academics. Academics includes their class schedule. If you have access to that, you won't accidentally call them when they're in class. Grades, both final grades and midterm grades are posted under the academic tab. And as time goes on, you could also look at their academic history, which is like looking at an informal transcript. Bursar information. This will show your account activity, the bursar bill, record of payments, a 1098-T tax form if you need one, and it also contains the ability for you to make a payment. Financial aid. Financial aid will show you what grant aid has been awarded to the student, as well as the estimated parent contribution. It also contains a to-do list. For example, if Duke is waiting on tax forms or something that needs to be submitted. And it shows the student's financial aid budget and their loan history. Personal addresses contains phone numbers and email addresses, yours and theirs. Insurance has, Duke needs to know the health and medical insurance information for each student. Well, keep in mind, proxy access is really view only, other than things like the bursar or uploading insurance information. The only access you'll have is just to view these things. You cannot register for the student. And if the student is having trouble finding out how to grant you this access, you can just do a Google search, type in Duke Hub proxy access, and it will take you to a link with a PDF that contains all of the instructions and screenshots and everything you need to do that. Okay, so if you need to contact us for any reason, you can call this phone number, 919-660-5996, and you will be directed to the person that can help you. So whether that's an academic dean or you just have a question about a date or something. So that's a good number to just keep and store. It's a central line for all of us on the team. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. We're at Duke Engineering for all of those social media. And on Instagram, we also have an @PrattDeans. So you can follow us and check out the stories, see what's happening. It's a good way to just sort of be non-intrusive and keep an eye on what's going on. So with that, I'm going to open up for questions. And I will stop sharing. All right.
Well, thank you, Dean Franzoni, for that presentation. We don't have any questions in our queue quite yet. So if you have questions, please don't be shy. We are happy to answer any question that you may have. Just go ahead and put that in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. While we're waiting for questions, maybe we can share what we think our best piece of advice for parents are, especially Dean McMillan. She has 2 recent college grads, so she was in your shoes just a few short years ago.
Thanks. I would probably say to maybe take a pause. Hopefully your students will be contacting you. Sometimes they'll be contacting you under duress. But I guess the best you can do to kind of take a pause and listen. And most of the times they can figure things out on their own, and they might have a little bit of a bumpy road, but you know, that's part of the learning process. I had situations where I had frantic voicemails. And there was something going on, something was missing, something wasn't there. And by the time I was able to call back, the problem had been solved. So I was really glad that I wasn't able to get to the phone right away. So at the best you can to listen, take a pause, and maybe, throw it back onto your student on help them brainstorm rather than help them try to solve the problem outright.
I'll add one other thing too, is that we are not allowed to contact families unless there is sort of a really kind of emergency, so it's not like in school when you get report cards or you have a parent teacher conference or anything like that. This is like a different world. And so while we cannot contact you, we do want you to contact us. If you know that something is bothering your son or daughter, something upsetting has happened, there's a death in the family, or some bad news, please share that with us, because it will help us to kind of be that kind of keep an eye on things, and it will just be helpful for us to know. And we will reach out to the student and try to help facilitate things on our end.
All
I
right.
did a question in the chat. I saw a question in the chat that someone was wondering about the exam schedule, the final exam schedule.
Yes, I think Dean Cook answered that already, but you are welcome to also answer it.
Well, I don't know. I didn't see his answer, so I will answer and say that while the Duke, the final exam schedule is in Duke Hub for students, it's not necessarily always 100% accurate, because the one that's in the students Duke Hub, if a course doesn't list itself as having a final exam, then it won't appear there. But the faculty, the syllabus for the course is the best place to find that, and the faculty member. So for example, EGR 101 doesn't have a final exam, but they have final projects that are going to be displayed, and they may use the final exam period to deliver those design things to the clients. And so you don't want to skip out on the final exam just because it isn't listed as literally a final exam. So in engineering, there are classes where the final exam period is used, even though they may not have a 3-hour exam that you take. So I don't know if that agrees with Ben's answer, but hopefully it does.
Yes. Our next question is, how and when do students get involved in research?
Well, so that's a great question. It varies by student. Some students come to Duke with already experiences in doing research, and those students want to hit the ground running, and we are very amenable to that. Other students have never been involved in research, and they don't even know what it is, and we're happy to help with that as well. So we have one of our academic deans, Dean Rawls, is also overseeing undergraduate research in Pratt. And there are also Duke-wide resources for undergraduate research. So there's a website called Muser, M-U-S-E-R, where students can go and find opportunities to do research. But I would say if you're a first-year student and you're interested in doing research from first semester on, your 360 coach is probably your very best resource, because that person can connect you with, what, because like, we don't know what is your passion, what is it that you're interested in doing research on? And your 360 coach will be able to connect you to the right department, to a faculty member, and that sort of thing. So I would go first to that 360 coach.
Yeah, can I just add one thing?
Yes, please.
And that is, when when your young students come to campus, they're going to have a variety of options to pick from, ranging from, student clubs all the way to doing research with faculty. And I think, keep in mind that you can't do everything the first semester. You have to pace yourself, focus on your studies. But it's important that the students find what they're really passionate about. And there'll be plenty of time over 4 years to get a broad exposure to all the different type of experiences that are here available at Duke. In fact, by the time our students graduate after 4 years, I think roughly about 60 or a little bit over 60% of our students do get involved in research. So that will come in time. Sometimes our freshmen, they do better getting involved in activities where not only is it a extracurricular, but it's also a place where they're going to forge social bonds with their classmates as well, which is something you won't get, for example, in the research environment. So just picking judiciously where in time, what experiences your young students are being exposed to, just keep that in mind. I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that was a great piece of advice there, Dean Lynch. So thank you. Our next question, which I think is one that probably a lot of people have. This particular parent is saying, my son was enrolled in Pratt. Can he add computer science as a major or transfer to Trinity? So I think that's a good moment here to talk about how we work with Trinity.
So I don't know, Ben or Lupita, you want to chime in?
Sure. So for students that want to add a computer second major in Trinity, they don't need to transfer out of Pratt to do that. Any Pratt student can add a second major in either engineering or Trinity. Any student who has any engineering major is considered a Pratt student. So, if a student wants 2 majors, one in engineering and one outside of engineering, they'll still be in Pratt. We transfer students out of Pratt into Trinity and into Pratt from Trinity at the end of every semester, kind of in Duke Hub. So we have a process for meeting with your dean, meeting with the Trinity advisor for students considering transferring to do only a Trinity major. And that happens kind of at the end of every semester. There's kind of a list of students going each way, and they are processed in the system at the end of each semester. But that's something that students can have a conversation with their dean or their advisor about. And we want I think all of Duke, wants students to be really excited about what they're majoring in. So we're not looking to kind of keep students in a major that they're not excited about.
Okay, our next question is actually about spring registration. And it says, when the time comes to register for spring semester classes, will the academic advisor or someone be reaching out to our students individually or by group to assist in choosing classes? Or should the student reach out to the academic advisor individually? And when should this be time-wise? And maybe Dean McMillan wants to tackle this one in terms of 360 coaching.
Yes, so the 360 coach should be reaching out to each student to set up advising appointments. Sometimes emails get crossed, emails not checked, and sometimes the connection doesn't always happen. Students should feel free to connect with their advisor, one at any time whenever they have a question, but also specifically at registration. And the academic deans will send out emails to the students to let them know it's advising season. Here's the steps that you need to take. You need to reach out to your advisor. You need to get the hold lifted, with just some other nuts and bolts of what they need to do. So between the emails that we send to the faculty to remind them that registration is coming and the steps that they should do, we email the students and remind them that if they haven't heard anything, they should connect with their advisor. Between those two messages, the people connect. And sometimes that may not be possible, but we always, have a stand-in if the professor might be out at a conference, or maybe they're ill, or they have some personal things. There's always backups for that. So if your student is not able to reach their advisor at any time, they can always feel free to contact their academic dean, and we will make sure to get them connected in any way that they need to be connected. So there's hopefully some stop gaps all over the place that will happen. But we do put that responsibility on the student too. So if they haven't heard anything, we do want them to speak up and say, I haven't heard anything, and we'll help intervene at that point. And every semester, then students will follow the same process. And the 360 coach isn't any different from the faculty advisor that's going to come from sophomore to senior year. They'll still meet with their faculty advisor every semester at registration time in the same process. Someone's going to reach out and appointments will be made so that all of those registration discussions can happen.
So we have a follow-up. I'm going to stick with 360 coaching. And this parent asked, my son wants to transfer to Pratt from Trinity and is taking the recommended courses for the ECE degree. Will he get a 360 coach this semester, or will he have to wait until he transfers next semester?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that. It's a current Trinity student who will transfer in December.
Yes.
Okay, so as long as you're in the first year, so for any Trinity student that transfers in December, that will take place, then they'll become a Pratt student for January and the spring semester. They will get a 360 coach in January. For those students who transfer maybe in May at the end of the spring semester, they would not get a specific 360 coach, but they'll still get a faculty advisor in their department that they will be pursuing. The 360 coaches are specifically for the first year though. For the student who, if they're transferring in December, during that fall semester, you're still gonna have your Trinity dean, you'll still have your Trinity college advisor, but we can still get you connected to a peer advisor. You can still meet with your respective Pratt dean that will be your future dean once you are transferred in January. So we have connections that we can bring you into the loop and get you information that you need while you're still the Trinity student during the fall semester.
And there's a really great follow-up question here, which is the advisor the same person as the 360 coach?
Yes, the 360 coach is your faculty advisor. Trinity students have what's called the college advisor. Ours are called 360 coaches for the first year.
And maybe this question is for Dean Franzoni, and it is, how do students get involved in engineering honor societies like Pi Tau Sigma?
So those engineering honor societies are for upperclassmen. So they're not until junior or senior year, and they're based on certain metrics, GPAs and that sort of thing. In Tau Beta Pi, it's all of engineering for things like Chi Epsilon and Pi Tau Sigma. Those are discipline specific, and the criteria are different. They're national honor societies for those engineering disciplines, and the criteria is a national criteria, but it's only upperclassmen, and you get invited, and then you can choose to be in it or not.
And I'll just make a note that for our Pratt student clubs and organizations that Dean Franzoni mentioned earlier in her presentation, those are open to all Duke students. There are no prerequisites. So a lot of times we get questions asking if students need experience in order to join robotics or motorsports, and the answer is no. They are happy to have anyone join those organizations.
But I will also say that each discipline has a student club that's not an honor society. So in civil engineering, there's ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineers. In mechanical is ASME. And these are student chapters of national professional organizations. And you do not have to have any GPA. And so you can join those from first semester. BMES, the Biomedical Engineering Society. So, and they host things that are of interest to the majors in those subjects. And in ASCE, they have competitions too, like they'll build a concrete canoe or a steel bridge. In ASME, there are national competitions that they can compete in as well. So, so that's open to everyone. And I would encourage students that are interested in those disciplinary things to look into those.
Yeah, that's great. It actually looks like we answered all of our questions here. So if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to pass it back to Grace, who's going to give us a few more announcements.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you to our whole team and the Pratt Education undergraduate team. I always get that wrong. I'm so sorry. The team that's supporting your undergraduate students in Pratt School of Engineering. This is also always a great webinar, and it's amazing to see the way that y'all work together, obviously, which translates to the way that I know students experience being in Pratt. So this is the end of our session for the evening. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you to all of our families who joined in. Again, we are recording this session. We're going to put it on our website. So stay tuned. By the end of the week, it'll be up. There'll be a recording so you can take all those dates down that Dean Franzoni listed, which are amazing. We hope that you'll join us. We have another week of, actually 2 more weeks of orientation programming for families, a webinar next week, and then a final webinar the week of August 10th to help you all get ready to come to campus and bring your students to campus and prep them for their orientation experience. So thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for partnering with us, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Bye.